everyone. Welcome back to Change Coach Conversations. This is the last Change Coach conversation of 2019 as we wrap up this year. And this one's number 10, and it is what to do when a coaching session goes astray. So this is a question that I got from you guys, and it's a common one, right? It's I hear it in different words and different language all the time. So what to do when it goes astray, meaning, like, here's some of the other ways that the question is phrased. Like, what if I'm with a client and things completely go off the tracks? What if I'm with someone and I'm pointing like crazy and trying to help them see something and nothing I say is landing with them? Or they're getting impatient? Or this is probably the most common variation of this. What if I'm with a client and I have no idea where to go? So like there's just silence, or you are in a place where like maybe they're just coming and saying all their stuff, right? And you're kind of like a deer in headlights for a minute. And you're like, I don't know, I don't have any hunches. Nothing's calling to you to follow up on. Like the questions aren't there. What if that happens? And it's so interesting because, like, I get it. Like, these questions feel so big and they sound like scary, and not just scary. I mean, we can handle like discomfort, but like scary, but like also scenarios we shouldn't be finding ourselves in, because if we're the coach, we're somewhere and our client is somewhere else. Like, I just want you to kind of get a feel for how packed into this question is all kinds of meaning and assumptions and expectations about what it should feel like to be in a conversation with a client. How perhaps, I'm not saying this is what everyone is thinking, but perhaps in some way it's like we should be the leader, right? That's a big one. Like, we should always kind of be steering the conversation, and we should be kind of pointing them in a direction, and they should be responding favorably, and we should have hunches that we're testing. Now, all of those things can be part of good coaching for sure. So so I see where they came from, right? Like, there's a reason, and they're there in coaching sessions often, but none of them are necessities for every single moment of every single session. So there's exceptions to everything. And as soon as we start to narrow ourselves down into here's what it looks like to coach, here's how the conversation goes, here's what I see, here's what they're here. Like, as soon as we start doing that, we're a mess. We're a mess because there's so much in our heads. We're no longer present with them. But the conversation's a mess because now it's this canned thing that isn't even unfolding in real time anymore. I mean, it is, but not as much as it can be. What we want, like what a coaching conversation is to me, is a naturally evolving, unfolding dance. You don't have a clue, and neither do they, and hopefully you kind of know that. Like, as you're there, they know, we don't know where this is going, and especially as the coach, I don't know where this is going. You're not full of direction and all the stuff you're empty. You're kind of just quiet, and you're listening, and you're equal. 100% equal, meaning just because you're the coach and you're the one being paid for the session or whatever, does not mean that you lead everything. It does not mean that you are always testing hunches and assumptions and doing all that. It doesn't mean any of that. You might do some of that, and your client will do some of that, hopefully. But it's like there's an equal playing field, and hopefully it's as blank and empty as it can be. And that's beautiful, because when you're in conversation, in this dance that is just a conversation with another human being, neither of you have any clue really what's there to show up. And it's not, or what's going to show up. And it's not just two human beings with your intellects and your ideas and all that talking. I mean, really, that's the stuff that parts very quickly in most cases. And it's almost like this third party that is this bigger intelligence and this bigger wisdom and uncertainty and the mysterious and the unknown that shows up and guides how this dance evolves. And it's so beautiful when that happens. So this question, like, what if it goes off the tracks, or what if there's an uncomfortable lull, or what if all this stuff? I always think, again, I had all those questions too, like all those fears, no question about it. But I always think, like, what if you're talking with the person that you know the most and you're the most comfortable with in the world, like your best friend or your partner or whoever it is, would it even occur to you to say, oh, our conversation just went off the tracks? I mean, it might. You say something that offends them or whatever, like, things go like that. But it's a different kind of thing. It's like, oh, well, let me get some understanding around this and just come back. If there's a lull in that conversation with the person you know and are most comfortable with in the world, it's not uncomfortable. We don't even call it a lull. It's just part of the dance. You're not talking all the time, I hope, right? Like there's talking and then there's silence. And then there's talking and then there's silence. Well, all of these are just as true with a client. Hopefully, I mean, just as true. I was going to say more so, but it doesn't even make sense. Like it's the same kind of conversation. Now, again, it's different in that you're there helping them tap into something beyond their thinking, right? And that's probably not an agenda that's on your mind with your partner or your best friend. But aside from that, really, it's like, and that agenda isn't even something you come with. It's just there. It's just part of that wisdom that shows up. Aside from that, truly, it's this unknown. It's this dance, and it's so beautiful to see what unfolds from that place. So what do you do if you're there and you're like, I have not a clue where to go with this person? You could ask them. Isn't that amazing? Like you could ask them. My biggest mentor and influence in this area was Mark Howard. Dr. Mark Howard was a mentor of mine for a while, and he's the best. And whenever I work with coaches, I always try to hire Mark if he's available to come work with the coaches for like do a webinar with us or something, because he's so good at just being completely transparent and honest and saying, hey, like he'll be right there with a client and say, I don't have anything. I don't know where to go. I don't know. What do you think? Where do you think we should go? Or I'm still not really hearing what your problem is. Say more with nothing on it. As there kind of shouldn't, I don't want to say should, but like there's nothing to be on it. I mean, you're two humans in an evolving dance. So of course there will be times when you don't know. And think about that. If your coach were to ask you, hey, you just gave me a bunch of stuff. I don't know what to do with that. What do you think is most important? Or what are you hearing in what you just said? Or where do you think we should go? I would love that. I would think, wow, my coach, like, this isn't some ego trip for this person. They don't have to be the leader or any of that or pretend they know. They're asking me. Like, they really want it bad enough. They want to see clearly. They want to listen bad enough that they're going to tell me they don't know. And we're going to come figure it out together. I love that so much. And not only is it incredibly effective to just be right there on the same level with your clients and admit when you don't know, it is so easy for us. Like, it doesn't get any easier than that. You don't have to put on any show. You don't have to know anything you don't know. You just show up and you have a conversation. So it's kind of a trick question, this one, what to do when a coaching session goes astray, because in many ways it's always kind of going astray and then coming back and all that. And because that's always happening, it's kind of never astray, if that makes any sense. It can't truly go astray because the nature of it is you're just talking back and forth. There are no tracks to stay on. And that's really awesome. So thanks so much for listening to this one. If you want to learn from myself and from Mark and see more about having these super effective, super simple and natural two-way mutual conversations with people that lead to huge change and transformation, check out the Change Coach Training Program. It starts in late January. It is very nearly full. I believe there's one spot left, really. So talk to me very soon. And if you're interested, even if you're not committed, if you're interested and just want to have a conversation, I'd love to do that because it's about to fill. And I will be back in the new year with more of these Change Coach conversations. So I hope you have a really happy holiday season, a really happy new year, and I'll see you next year. Bye, everyone.